Konrad, as an expert in preparing businesses for sale, what does a potential seller need to consider when they're thinking of selling their business?
Well, the sale of a business is an emotive experience for any owner. At Evolution, we specialise in dealing with SMEs, and the sale represents several years of hard work and the opportunity to realise value for that. Therefore, sellers are understandably concerned about valuation, about confidentiality, and importantly finding the right buyer who can take on their business, develop it, and look after the existing employees. Most sellers also don't realise how time-consuming a sales transaction can be. A typical sale will take anything from 6 to 9 months on the assumption that it is sale ready, and that is very rarely the case. There are usually a number of issues to be resolved prior to the sale process, which may include HR issues, the quality of financial information, sorting out finance or lease agreements, ensuring that all customer contracts and supplier contracts are signed and dated and in place. And it's important to consider all these because whilst they might not appear in isolation to be big concerns to the existing shareholders, any buyer looking in from the outside will have questions about these, and it will always lead to unnecessary discussions or negotiations throughout the transaction. So for these reasons, I would say that preparation has to be the biggest consideration for any seller. Above all, they need to be aware of what it is they are actually selling and understand all the potential deal structures that need to be considered.
Can you explain to me, please, what those potential structures are?
Well, we usually advise shareholders of limited companies. So the two types of structures we usually come across are either a share sale or an asset sale. There are pros and cons of both, and unsurprisingly they are different for buyers and for sellers. So it's important that our clients understand the tax and accounting implications for both parties. Secondly, within that there are countless substructures in terms of the consideration. For example, is it going to be cash on completion? Is the buyer proposing a deferred payment? Is there an earn-out being proposed as part of the acquisition, or are they offering shares in the acquiring company as part of the consideration? Furthermore, the target buyer needs to be considered. Is the seller seeking a trade sale to a competitor who will most likely pay the highest value, but which may lead to confidentiality issues? Are they willing to only sell part of the business to an equity investor? Or would they even consider selling to the management team through a vendor-assisted MBO? So there's a lot to be aware of. An experience of doing deals, both buying and selling, is important here. Our aim is to advise clients on all the issues that need to be considered and offer our opinions based on our experience.
So what is a typical sale process, Konrad?
Well, I typically split a sale into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is the preparation of a business for sale. This will include the drafting of all the sale documentation that a buyer will require, undertaking all the research to identify potential acquirers, and then thirdly and importantly, placing a realistic valuation range on the business. Ultimately, a business is only worth what somebody is prepared to pay for it, but you still can gauge that range of valuation by undertaking some research. Look at similar companies in the sector. Look at the marketplace, what are these companies trading at? Look at comparable transactions. And it's important to perhaps comment here that there are a number of sales agents who will produce glossy marketing literature claiming that they can sell businesses for 6 to 8 times profits. And in my opinion, that's fundamentally wrong. Some businesses will sell for that value, there's no doubt about it. Some will sell for less, others will ultimately sell for more. But importantly, you need to understand the business, understand the underlying financial performance, understand the operations before you can start making those claims. Phase 2 then involves the marketing of the business for sale, and this will include approaching a number of identified acquirers, all under confidentiality undertakings. It's worth commenting that this is quite a time-consuming phase, and there will be several meetings required between the buyers and the sellers. Our role is to project manage this phase, always providing regular feedback to the client, and this phase will also include the receipt of offers from buyers, the review of those offers, the negotiation of the terms, and ensuring that our clients are fully aware and fully understand all the key points within any offer. The final phase then covers completion. Once a deal has been agreed and heads of agreement have been signed, the financial and legal due diligence will always be undertaken by a buyer. Again, this can be quite a time-consuming phase, but the work that we will have done in phase 1 and all the preparation and information that we'll have presented to the buyer in phase 1 will minimise the financial due diligence burden here. However, sellers still need to understand that it is still a time-consuming process, and there will be several meetings between buyers, sellers, financial advisors and legal advisors.
Brilliant. So to sum up, Konrad, what exactly does the evolution do to make that process easier?
In summary, we project manage the whole process and provide advice on each financial aspect of each business sale. The key for me is to meet shareholders early on, as this is when we can add most value, as we can put a plan in place for the sale process. That said, we can still help out at any stage. We regularly meet up with clients who may have been approached by a competitor, and discussions may have already started. We can always add value in these instances because we can ensure that the information is presented in the right way to ensure that the maximum value will be paid for the business, and we can ensure that any offer or any deal will be structured in the right way so it's the most beneficial for our clients. To put it simply, for most people, selling a business is a once-in-a-lifetime event, and you need to ensure that you have an advisor with the right experience on your side to look after your interests.
Great, thank you very much. That's really useful. Thank you so much.
No problem.